And so for me, it just wasn't challenging for me, and I got bored. When I get bored, I don't get happy, and I tend to get in trouble.
JessConstantino, yeah.
I'm the kind of kid that will think of creative things to do so that I can entertain myself. And, you know, when you're a kid, not all of those creative things are good or positive. There were a lot of Spanish kids in this class. A lot of kids did not speak English. And really, I felt like I was one of the only white girls in it. There was another girl that also did not speak Spanish. She was in 4th grade. And we got tired of the kids always speaking Spanish around us. I had asked them, please, when you're around us, will you please speak English so that we can understand what you're saying? And even though I knew some Spanish because I had been taught it since I was 4, I was not taught it on like a fluent basis. So it wasn't like I spoke it fluently. So when somebody came around me and was speaking Spanish, I had no idea what they were saying. So I took the other girl aside that did not speak Spanish also, and I said, hey, what do you say I teach you Pig Latin? And she said, why? And I said, so that when all of the other kids are speaking Spanish and we can't understand them and we feel left out, we can speak Pig Latin around them so that they can feel left out too. Again, when I am bored, I get creative. So I started teaching this girl Pig Latin. And Pig Latin is very easy. I don't know if any of you know how to speak it, but essentially you just take the first consonant off of a word and put it at the end with a y, like at the end. So it's like, if you wanted to say hello, you would say, hello, hey. So this was something that was very easy for me to teach somebody else. And she picked it up very fast, and we started speaking Pig Latin to each other. And when we were on the playground, or when we were on the bus, or when we were in the class, and we weren't, busy being structured, because honestly, this class was not very structured. You would come in from recess, and you would get to jump around and have 10 more minutes of recess before you had to sit down and get busy. So this was not a very structured class. So anyways, we started speaking Pig Latin, and the Spanish kids didn't like it. They couldn't understand us, and the leader of the Spanish kids, he came up to me and he said,
can you stop speaking Pig Latin, because we feel left out when you're speaking Pig Latin and we can't understand you.
And I said, aha! So now you understand what we feel like when you speak Spanish and we can't understand you. We feel like we're left out. We feel like you're talking about us just like you do. And he said,
okay, well, I'll make you a deal. We won't speak Spanish around you guys if you don't speak Pig Latin around us.
And I said, all right, you got a deal, sir. And that was how I got the other kids to stop speaking Spanish around me. Another story was not a very fun one. When we would go out to recess, we would line up in a line, and as we were walking out to the playground, the, again, normal kids would be standing there waiting for us to walk out of our classroom, and they would start pelting Foursquare balls at our heads, which are big rubber balls, not really big, but like basketball size, but they're rubber. And it got to the point where it was so bad and we were bullied so bad that the teachers decided they had to separate us. They couldn't have us be in this regular playground setting with all of the other kids because we were being bullied. And so they forced us to play in this little tiny grass area by our class, separated from all of the other students. And it just felt horrible. Like, for somebody who had mainstreamed my whole life and been around kids, and I had been bullied my whole life and it didn't feel great. To be segregated from those kids and be taken to this other place, it's like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I being isolated from everyone else? Why am I not good enough to play with everyone else? And it felt like Rosa Parks being forced to sit in the back of the bus, you know? It was just not fun. Like my mom would say, it went from being this happy, normal, well-adjusted kid to being this angry, mean, not happy, miserable kid. And even my grandma, because I would go to my grandma's after school because this special education bus could not take me to my parents' house, and it couldn't take me out to the nursery, which is where my mom worked. My grandma tells stories about how when I was in 6th grade and I was coming up to her house after school, I would like stomp up the driveway all angry. And she's like, oh, Jesse's here. I had attended this school for roughly 6 months out of the year. My mom went to the school that I had attended, Rio Bravo Greeley, before I had gone to Beardsley. And she went to the principal and she told him what was going on with me, how the class was structured, what she had seen, what she had observed, and most importantly, what my personality was like. And the principal, I had an amazing principal at Rio Bravo Greeley, and he was like, I don't care what it takes, get her back here. We will find accessibility. We will do whatever we have to get her braille services and mobility services. Just get her back here. That was that. Like, they transferred me out after the first semester. I was transferred and I got to go back to my old school where I mainstreamed. And for me, that was much more enjoyable. Now, because I had to have all of these special things now, it had to be put into my IEP. And for instance, I had a CCTV, which is a closed circuit television where you put a book or something, a piece of paper, on this tray, and it literally magnified it on the screen. And so I had this big TV screen and this camera looking thing on this cart, and it was this big cart and it had big wheels because back in my day this was like a dinosaur machine. And so I would roll this cart with a friend from class to class because I was in junior high, and so I attended different classes. So I would roll this machine from class to class so that I could have my CCTV in all of my classes. However, that did not help me see the board, and so teachers would have to then blow up their lesson plans or their notes for whatever they did on the board. I would have to get an extra copy of those so that I was able to see them before the class started, so that I could watch them as the class. I could have my notes and I could see what was going on in the class as the class was going on. I didn't have full blindness, so for me, while I did learn Braille, I only learned maybe half of it. I think I learned half of the contractions, but I loved mobility because mobility, you got out of school and you got to go walk around town with a cane. It was fun. So that was something that was enjoyable for me. That felt different, but it felt like a fun, positive different. It didn't feel like you're a social outcast and a weirdo kind of different. So I liked that. So that was my first experience with a blind school. My second experience was very similar. Going into high school, they wanted me to go to Ridgeview, which was where they had the blind class. But Ridgeview was out of my district, and it was not where my sister had gone. My sister had gone to Stockdale, and I wanted to go to Stockdale. I wanted to be normal like her. Before I started high school, they asked me if I would go to summer school and go to the blind class so that I could get a first-hand experience of what this class was actually like and see how much different it was than the bad experience I had had in 6th grade. The year I went to this summer school. While I found the class structure to be better, it was more challenging. They didn't actually hold you back as much. They didn't expect you to be as far behind of the mainstreaming kids. They still told me that it would take me 5 years to graduate high school. And I said, why? And they said, well, it takes most blind students 5 years to graduate high school. And I said, watch me do it in 4. I didn't like that attitude. There were a lot of other kids in this class that were 16 years old, couldn't tie their shoes, couldn't make themselves a sandwich, couldn't do basic things. And to me, that was just weird. This one experience that I do remember in this class where I had been a swimmer my whole life. I had started swimming competitively when I was 4. So one day they decided to take us out swimming, and it happened to be at the same place that I had started doing swim practices for my high school. I started seeing the other kids not knowing how to swim, and so I started teaching the other kids how to swim. My swim coach came up to me, and he went up to my teachers and he said, this girl, she's one of my best swimmers. Those were pretty much my only 2 experiences. And after this blind summer school class, in case anybody wondered, I decided to go to my regular high school. Once you got into high school, you weren't in the same like county programs. I remember doing mobility with my same mobility instructor until I was maybe a sophomore or junior in high school, and I completed the requirements of mobility. So I went to Stockdale High School, and it was a lot of fun. I had some hard times there, again with bullies and with teachers that were really hard on me, but I also made some amazing friends that I still have to this day, and it was an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. So I'm very happy with my decision that I went to Stockdale instead of going to Ridgeview. I didn't want to be labeled as a slow vision person that had to be separated and segregated from regular society, because that's not how society works. How society works is that you have to go out into this big world that we live in and learn how to make a name for yourself and learn how to make a way for yourself. So for me, it was the best decision. And I met one of my best friends. Her name's Fawn, and she is still one of my best friends to this day. So I couldn't be happier with my decision to have gone to Stockdale and to have figured out how to learn how to live in this big world we live in. So yeah, it's hard, it's challenging. You have to find accommodations, you have to find accessibility, and it can be a pain in the butt, and it can be stressful, and it can be difficult, but you know what? It is worth it. It's challenging, and that's the way I like it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck with me this far, thank you so much. I love you guys. I am so appreciative for all of my support. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everyone. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe so that you're able to see more content like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and because it really helps my channel. If you have any questions for me, don't forget to leave them in the comments below. If you want to keep up with me on my other social media, make sure you do that. I'm on pretty much every major social media platform. Yeah, other than that, I'm gonna go, and I hope y'all have a great week. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.
Blind Pineapple Production. Yeah!